Implication of formal and informal groups for management. First, formal groups, committees. As defined earlier under section 4.3, formal groups are established by the organization to accomplish specific tasks. These groups includes commands group, committees and task force. Ah, this section, this section, we should further clarify committee organization as an important role of formally designed group and its complication, implication and for management. Committees are a special kind of group which serves the following purpose in an organization: A. Exchanging views and information. B. Recommending actions. C. Generating ideas. D. Making decisions. The size of the committee is usually kept small. It is to encourage good quantity of decisions. Communications among number is thus limited to few. With increase in the size of committee, many members feel less willing or threatened to participate actively. The chairperson of the committee provides direction to the committee to fulfill the objectives of the committee. He or she should be person of open mind and a careful listener. He or she should allow members to voice their opinion and should not place his or her opinion above those of others. He or she should involve everyone in the activities of the committee. He or she should have active interest in the purpose of the committees and in the ideas of the members. He or she should help the committee focus on the tasks at the hand on the progress made. The members of the committees should cooperate with each other to achieve the purpose of the committee. To a great extent of image of the committee depends on the cooperation of members with each other. They should have stronger motivation to accomplish the task. They should have effective communication with each other. There should be more ideas generating in the groups along with increased satisfaction and performance. If the members of the performance of the members, it is the chairperson who should try to ensure communication, satisfaction, and productivity among the members of the committee. With today's organization becoming increasingly large and complex, the committee form of organization will abundantly become more important and more widely used in future. The modern manager must learn how his committees are or teams or commissions or board or groups or task forces should be effectively formed and should function, no matter whether he is a government or in the educational or religious or business organizations. In other words, the kind of group managements will become more popular as well as important in times to come. Meeting of members in a committee may be time consuming and costly in so far as individuals' time is concerned. Committees are also criticized for not making the members responsible for bad decisions or mistakes. Many individuals use the committees as a shield to avoid personal responsibilities for bad decisions or mistakes. In fact, all the committee's members as well as chairpersons should be made responsible for all decisions. It is in the interest of the committee to differentiate between very conscientious members who voted against wrong decisions as well as those who took a particular decisions and can defend it to the end. Many decisions taken by a committee may or may not be liked by members of the organization who are likely to be affected by it. In spite of the above shortcomings that are likely to be here, The future manager must learn to arrive at the improved decisions through the combined and integrated judgment of the committee members. He or she can reduce conflict in the group, facilitate coordination of various groups in the organization, and increase commitment and motivation of members of the organizations through participations. Committees, which are thus the finally designated groups of organizations, are assuming more importance in day-to-day functioning at any organizational level. Today, they are acknowledged as significant features of group dynamics in organizational behavior. Second, informal groups, work groups. Informal groups play a significant role in the dynamics of organizational behavior. A formal groups has officially prescribed goals and relationship which an informal groups does not have, but we cannot think of these two groups as separate entities, as they coexist and they are ins- inseparable. Every formal organization has informal groups, and every informal organization eventually involves some semblance of formal groups. An illustration will make it clear. When an engineer designs the plan and technology for a new factory, and when an architect designed the office layouts, they are also designing the social relations that will prevail in the organization. The formal organization of the management determines where men will work and what opportunities they will have to contact each other during the day. Also, the rates of pay, work conditions, and other aspects of the job are decided by the managers are important too. Given these basic elements, one can predict the social relations that exist within the organization long before the first person is employed and enters the factory. This is because of the fact that every person is told formally where the how he or she will has to work, with whom to become in contact. Obviously, one develops friendship with the people the most when come across. In fact, those employees who have the greatest opportunities to make contact on the job makes the largest number of friends. In course of time, they may be in the best position to become leaders of the group. Remember for yourself, you who were the first person you came in contact with when you joined your present work organization. How frequently did you meet them? In course of action, you noticed that you have become a member of your work group, having made contact with quite a number of people, trying to share your problems with them and their problems with you. This is how a work group is formed. In course of time, you select from amongst various groups. You are in touch with the group which is important to you for your work, a group which matters to you for leisure and recreations, a group which acknowledges you more for your personal qualities. As time passes, your affiliation with certain group becomes more meaningful and strong. Based on contacts and common interests, such friendship groups made by employees arise out of the life and of the organizations. Once these groups have been established, they develop a life of their own, which is almost completely separate from the work process from which they started. The process is dynamic and self generating and makes the work group an organization in itself. Characteristics of effective work groups. In managing the organization, you have to understand how groups can be made into effective work groups. The factors that influence the work group effectiveness are norms, cohesion, and leadership. Let's see how each one of them contributes to making the group effective to achieve the objectives of the organization. First, group norms. When the group functions for the period of time to attain certain objectives, it develops norms or standards of behavior. A norm is a rule. This tells the individual how to behave in a particular group. A individual may be a member of the welfare group, a chess club, his family, and his work group. You may like to watch his behavior in various groups. You will see the different kinds of behavior of the same individual in different group. You may also notice that sometimes the norm is formal and acceptable by the group that way. For example, all members of a particular work group wear safety glasses while operating on a particular machine. All of them would do so by accepting these norms. On the other hand, a norm can be informal, arising out of interactions and feeling of the people of the members of all the members of a task group decide to keep their output high by regulating their piece of work. For example, a number of typists decide to attain a target of 50 pages of neat typing every day, so they do it. It is also possible that another group may like to keep its output low again because of some emergent activities, interactions, and feeling of the group. So it is important to know what behavior is significant for the group, which helps to develop a norm. In other words, having high or low output is equally influenced by what the group prescribed for its members, as well as what other activities, interactions, and feelings develop among the members or in course of doing a work. So, we can say that one of the characteristics of norms is they develop behavior that is significant for the group. We also find another characteristics of norms. Some norms are applicable to some peoples only and not to all. For example, a manager of a group behaves differently from other members of the group. His or her behavior is what is expected for him or her in a given position by others. When a new member joins the group, he or she is expected to follow the norms more closely than the senior members. Some norms have central importance and are accepted by everyone of the group, while others have less importance. Shechin 1974 talks of pivotal and relevant group norms. A pivotal group norms is a norm to which every member must conform. A worker who remains absent or does not do any work will not last long in an organization. A relevant group norm is one which is neither central or nor absolutely essential to follow but is worthwhile and desirable. So any norms may be pivotal in group but may be irrelevant to another. Some of us conform to all the norms of the group. Some of us select only pivotal norms and acceptance. Still others reject all values and norms of the group. It is usually seen that complete conformity to norms, as in the first case, and complete rejection of the norms, as in the last one, have undesirable consequences. A complete conforming individual loses his or her ability to influence the group. An individual who rejects all the group norms is likely to be expelled from the group. It is therefore advisable that individual exercises his or her choices of acceptance of the norms quite discreetly. It is equally important to understand that with the increase in size of the group, norms are less likely to be accepted. It is also true that more intelligent persons are less likely to conform to norms. You may notice that as the group increases in size, there are change of subgroups being formed. Hence, a general norms of the total group is difficult to maintain with uniform conformity all the time. The last characteristics of norms is that they allow possible deviations. An individual who deviates too far gets punished. When the union is on strike, its member attending to work is punished by their boycotted by the group. Ask yourself the following questions in the position of a manager. What have you understood about norms when you are formal leader of a group and when you are members of the group? Have you understood what the norms of various groups are? Do you know which are the central norms? Do people conform to norm completely? Do people wait for their leader to speak first in the meeting? Do people come in the time for meeting? Is disagreement allowed? No people have the common style of clothing. Do people have a common style of clothing? As a manager, you must also try to understand why people opt to lower their output, and if need be, you should change the situation in order to change the norm of low output. You should try to develop trust among your numbers in order to be able to influence and change or modify the norms of your group. Your effectiveness as a manager will increase with a high level of trust between you and your group members. Second, group cohesiveness. This means the degree of which group members are motivated to remain within the group and consequently behave in similar ways. A cohesive group also helps the number members in their satisfaction of needs and attainment of goals. Cohesiveness develops out of the activities, interactions, and sentiments of the people. The cohesive group act as one man to attain its goal. What is the factor which influences the cohesiveness? Size of group, which may few with very few people in the group, you may fall short of skilled hand to do a good job. With a large number of people, you may find it difficult to communicate and identify the best talent. At the same time, an individual members may not be happily with his or her interactions with the group. In the first case, there is breakdown of the task, and in the second case, reaching out the people is difficult. Quite unintentionally, you may even encourage formal formation of many subgroups in a large group. Hence, group cohesiveness will suffer. Proximity or geography of the group. Nearness or working closely together helps in groups cohesiveness. It helps face to face contact. A small isolated work group is cohesive and will work better to attain the goals. Outside pressure. This binds together all the members against a common enemy and thus makes its members forget their differences. You might have observed how groups becomes cohesive under outside pressure, and there is first competition with the other groups, or second union management conflict, or third reaction against the supervisor who closely supervise the work, or five lack of trust between the manager and his groups, or fifth is even mistrust between two groups. Accomplishing group goals. As the group becomes more cohesive, the members becomes more motivated to accomplish its goals and behave in similar ways. Accomplishing group goals increase the cohesion of the group. Failing to accomplish the group goals reduces the group cohesiveness. It is necessary to remember that it is not always desirable to have group cohesiveness, which may result in going against in objectives of the work group. For example, workers being highly cohesive may decide to work against the management, so you must find out what the harmful effects are likely to be of a cohesive group. Examples of rejection of new ideas by cohesive group members are not uncommon. At times, these members feel that they know the best. This kind of feeling is known as group think, where members show tremendous desire the in anonymity. A great deal of solidarity and loyalty of the group override the motivation of the members to consider different courses of action logically and in a realistic manner. In governmental administration, significant decisions are made on the basis of group things principles which have been quite unfortunate for a large number of group people. As a manager, you must make a cohesive group to accomplish organizational goals. You have to give information, get the resources for your members to accomplish the task, and hold frequent open meeting. O'Donnell 1961 and Philey 1970 suggest that one should try to avoid group things by having open discussion and allowing conflicting points of view. Group leadership. As you have studied in Unit 13, leadership is the ability to influence the behavior of others. Any effective work group wanting to accomplish its task, gaining some sort of social satisfaction, and having some sense of contribution and growth should like to look up to the leader to help reach these goals. Informal leaders often emerge from the activities, interactions, sentiments of the ongoing group. They may help the group to accomplish its task to fulfill its social goals. You will also always notice the formal task instructions comes from the supervisors, but informal helps comes from the informal leaders. Informal leaders may be lower in official status but the formal leaders than the formal leaders, but the helps the group satisfy both personal and organizational goals. In this job is done by the formal leader, then there will be no informal leader emerging out of the group. If the informal leaders help in attending the organizational goals, then he becomes task oriented like a formal leader, and there may be chances that a social leaders will emerge to maintain a balance between organizational and personal needs. In order to be effective as a manager, you must recognize the existence of informal leaders and work with them to develop group norms of high productivity, build more cohesion, and enable the members to have their social needs satisfied. Managing groups productivity. In your role as a manager, you will do well to remember some useful ways to make your work group effective. As O'Donnell 1961 suggests, you must know the following to make your groups of people towards attaining the goals. First, content. While having a meeting with your group members, try to understand the subject matter of the task to be performed by the committee. This will help you to see the problem clearly and solve it too. First is decide about the size of the committee having about 5 to 15 members and include expert in the committee to solve your problem. Second, distribute the agenda before the meeting is held to all the members. Third is specify the timing of the meeting. Fourth is encourage persons to present their ideas and do not encourage them to pick up the first feasible solutions to the problem. Allow them to think of various alternative solutions. And next is periodically summarize the discussion and restate the current position of the committee as to whether the committee has to finally decide on the solutions or only recommend solutions to the higher authority. Advise the higher authority. Second, process. This involves how the content is handled or discussed by the members. Benet and Sheets 1948 describes three effective ways to process the group processes. One of the way the content is handled is by group task activities. You may initiate, orient the group to its goals, coordinates, gives, and seek information about the problems. Another way may be through the group building activities like encouraging members to cooperate with each other. In the work, encourage people to participate, share jokes or humor with them at time, and see to it that they enjoy doing the work because of a good group atmosphere. This is the group building activities which helps a manager to establish better group relationship. Still another way the group members satisfy their needs is through self-serving activities. Members satisfy their needs at the cost of others. You might have noticed that more behave in a dominating manner, more try to get attention, more behave aggressively, and more withdraw while working in the group. Persons engaged in the above activities are only serving their own purposes or interest rather than helping the group to achieve its goals. You must try to understand the difference between the content and process to make the group more effective. Too much of task activities and too little of group building activities is not the group way to make an effective group. Self-serving activities are sign of non-constructive satisfaction of valid personal needs and the disruptive. They reduce the ability of the group to attain its objective. Many times we overlook the fact that people can be both emotional and rational in understanding the content and process of work. Emotion the realize that have to be taken care of a good manager must be neglect the group building activities as it may make group and activities meeting if ineffective. He or she should draw on the influence of the informal group by integrating its objectives with those of formal groups as well as try to keep the formal activities from uncertainly unnecessarily disruptive the informal organization.